All right, guys, we are officially live on Facebook. We are live on the Facebook. That's my Italian accent
It's pretty good.
for Phil
Bravo,
right there.
amico, molto bene.
Live on the Facebook. It's funny, like Italian is like the only it's one of the only dialects you can make fun of. Everyone else.
Listen,
it's kind of offensive, but I mean,
my friend was taking
Italians, you
Italian
can say whatever you want.
in college, and he was like, if you try to sound like Mario and then you pronounce the words, it's actually quite accurate.
All right, let me do the intro and we'll get it started. Funny. Hold on a second. Hold on. I can't hear you. I don't have my headphones on. Hold on a second. Are you there?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. All right, guys. This is the weekly podcast, The Garden Party. This is the Garden Party, and we want a garden party with you. We talk about the plants we grow and some things you might not know. The Garden Party. All right, Phil, introduce yourself, dude.
Hey, guys, it's Phil from Phil's Figs, and I am the parent as well as plant parent of all figs. And actually, I do a lot of other garden stuff, too.
Yes, you do. You are a fig daddy, a plant daddy, a veggie daddy. You're just a daddy. That's all. That's all. That's all. That's all you say, man. Thank you very much for being on, as always, Mr. Phil. You have not missed one episode. This is episode 203, season 2, episode 3. So you have not missed an episode yet, and I appreciate it, man.
You got it, man. Always a pleasure.
Our other scientific mind on the garden party, who is with us most weeks, is Vikram, the plant professor. Go ahead and introduce yourself, dude.
Hello, I am Vikram. I am the plant prof on all the places, and I am a horticulture professor at Texas Tech in Lubbock, Texas. And I don't know. What else? I don't know. Am I interesting? I'm not sure.
You hate bananas.
No, see, okay. I like bananas. I actually enjoy bananas quite a bit. I just don't like it when they try to graft them with a kiwi or, mix them up with an egg or something terrible.
To grow an apple tree. That's how it works, right?
Yeah, no, I think so.
I was gonna say, if it made you feel better, my banana is toast. My banana died.
Yeah, mine's smoked too. Now, mine's an ornamental banana that is the Muja Baju. So it's just it can produce fruit, but apparently it's really seedy and it's not known for its fruit, but it's known for its hardiness. So it can die all the way down to the corm and come up 10 feet every year.
Oh, wow. I've never heard of an ornamental banana. I've heard of ornamental pomegranates and stuff like that, but I've never heard of an ornamental banana. That's really cool. My mom, around her pool area, she's got I would say on a low average, there's probably 50 to 60 banana trees. And every year they die back and they come right back and they double. They double almost every single year. And this was the first year they got some bananas out of them. I've been taking pictures of them. It's so cool seeing the hand of the banana open up and seeing them get pollinated. It's really interesting if you get in there and look, because usually there's bees and wasps all over them, pollinating them. But this was the first year they actually got some ripe bananas, because they take a long time to ripen.
Mm-hmm.
And the variety was they call them the ice cream bananas.
Or the ice cream banana. Oh, nice.
And so they're smaller. I haven't had one yet. She's saving some for me, but they're supposed to be that big. They're about that big, size like a plantain, but they're supposed to be super, super sweet and taste like vanilla.
I've heard really good things about them. I've had there's really nice manzana, or the apple banana, when I was in Hawaii on the Big Island, and they're they're like this long too, and they're so sweet. And obviously in Hawaii they wait till they're ripe off the by the bunch, and they take them right off the plant, and they're really, really good. So there's some cool varieties out there.
That's awesome, man. I've never been to Hawaii. I would love to go.
As a geologist, it made my head explode. It was
really
one of the geology meccas, and it has some crazy. I went to the Big Island, and it snows at the very top of Mauna Kea. It's 13,000 feet where the observatories are. And wow! You have to have a 4-wheel drive car to get up to those observation where they have the giant telescopes where they can see really far. But I went to the visitor center, which is 9,000 feet, and I had to wear like my jacket that I wore out there and wear pants, and it was cold. It was like, and that was 9,000 feet, and then it's so funny to drive all the way back down and pick up a coconut off the beach, you know.
Wait,
but they
so
have like a wet.
No, it snows in Hawaii. It snows in Hawaii.
Yeah, there's a snowboard club at the very top. They can snowboard, and it looks like out of this world, different planet. I don't know if Maui gets it because it's a volcano. So geology brain, ready? It's a volcanic hotspot. So a lot of volcanoes happen along fault lines, but a few happen on hotspots throughout the world. You have another one, which is Yellowstone. That's a caldera, right? Which is it's a continental hotspot that goes all the way down to the mantle. But Hawaii has a hotspot, and as the tectonic plate moves over the hotspot, a new island forms every time. And so right now you have like the big volcanic activity on the Big Island, which is why it's so geologically active right there. Huh. But there's actually a new mount that's forming off, but it'll push all the way up. It's one of the tallest mountains in the world, but it's just submerged all the way down to the seafloor of the abyssal plain.
That's crazy, super cool. Man. No, so I guess as a geologist, I mean, underneath us right now, the tectonic plates are moving, right? So like everything's moving. But it's moving faster under Hawaii because of the volcanic. Are the tectonic plates moving?
It's just the Pacific plate, and it moves at the same rate as a lot of other plates. Some move faster and slower, but the hot spot itself is a place where magma comes up from the mantle that's not associated with a plate boundary.
That's crazy. And so that's your area of expertise. You nerd out on geology, on rocks and stuff like that.
I nerd out actually in my research in grad school was paleoceanography. So I used deep ocean sediment to determine deep ocean currents and how they were interacting with abrupt climate change during probably 60,000 years ago, late Holocene.
That is fascinating to me.
Dude, Phil, you need your own podcast as well. Just to like have like an hour a week to nerd out and stuff like that. Like, you need to start the Figcast. Just do the Fig.
I'm excited for the Figcast. The Fig.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, you should just like what I would recommend for you and people who like to learn about figs and stuff. Just do like a weekly Figcast, like on Friday. Just turn your voice recorder on your phone, and as you're walking around the yard, like doing your stuff in the morning. Just talk for like an hour or like 30 minutes and then just upload it straight to Spotify. And it's called the Figcast. Yeah. Now you should definitely just do it solo. You have enough knowledge. You have enough knowledge where you could definitely do like stuff by yourself, and then we can intertwine as well and do some things.
Absolutely. I would love that.
I'd listen to you talk for an hour every Friday morning.
Yeah.
Sure.
100%. Yeah.
Well, I'm stoked that Vikram you have a Friday slot, right, Vikram? On NPR, didn't you?
Oh, yeah. So I have an NPR radio show / podcast that is at 9:30, I think, every Friday morning. And
that's awesome.
You can, I think from wherever you are, I think you can listen to it live on the NPR app.
Is that true?
Okay.
Know that for sure. I need to look at that up. But In the Grow is available. So we actually, I don't know if we should. We should like think about staggering it, but we actually pre-post the episodes, so they go up as a podcast on Thursday evening, and then they run live on on NPR Friday morning.
Okay,
that's awesome.
Okay. As long as y'all aren't doing them like weeks and months in advance, like Tom Segura and Bert Kreischer, like they do like Two Bears, One Cave and Mom's House. They've been catching a lot of flack lately because they're like posting. They're like posting episodes they shot around Thanksgiving, like right now, and like there's no current events like going on in the podcast, and so it's so obvious. But people have been catching flack for like backdating like episodes that far behind. So I always try to keep. I always try to keep it super current with us, so that we can be somewhat.
It goes back to like it's easier for me just to be Phil and Phil's Figs in an authentic space, and just to fire that out because I feel like I'd rather have the F ups and things and have it be more me than anything else, and it's actually easier that way too.
Yeah.
I do
we
like
typically.
my.
Sorry,
go for it.
No, go ahead.
I was thinking, I was tying back to NPR, like Fridays are the best for NPR for me because past 15 years I've been tuning into Science Fridays with Ira
Isn't it
Flato.
Science Fridays, right?
Yeah, and
is that a show or is that like all day at Science?
it starts like at 1 or 2 in the afternoon when Ira Flato goes on, but he always has special guests and things, and he covers the gambit of sciences.
It's really good. I really like Science Fridays.
Yeah.
Can you listen to it like on Spotify and stuff too? Can you just? I'm gonna have to subscribe. Something like that.
Yeah, it's real good. No, we record usually a week or two out. We'll record a couple of episodes at a time and bank a few, but I don't think we've ever recorded more than 2 or 3 weeks in advance.
And this is in the grow, right? Not Planthropology.
Right. That's in the grow.
Yeah.
Planthropology, and I don't
go for it. Sorry.
I was going to say Planthropology is about to come back. I've got episode 100 dropping next week. I think next Thursday, so a week from today. And then I don't want to like ruin the surprise. I'll tell y'all, like I'll tell you two after we get done.
Yeah.
But I've got I've got a couple of guests that I have been trying to pin down for nearly 2 years. That I finally got on. Like I finally have a recording time set with. So like I cannot wait to get some of these new episodes out. Like I'm super excited about it.
So who are your? Let's put it out there because we're gonna get Phil's podcast going. You got your couple of podcasts. I got this one, and the Texas Garden Guy show, which has been on hiatus just because of lack of time. But like, who are like your 3 dream guests, like to get on like to your podcast, Vikram? Like you get anybody on that's alive.
I got one of them. And is that
the surprise?
That's the surprise one.
Okay.
Okay. Hang on. Let me look. I have a list. I need to find my list. There is. I actually just want to find his Instagram handle so I don't misquote it. Botany Geek James Wong. I don't know if y'all follow Botany Geek, but he's great.
Botany Geek on Instagram.
Yep, on Instagram and I mean I think a lot of places, but he's a big guest, or he would be a big get for sure. I'm trying to think. I have a list of like a bunch of people. If I could get anyone, just like a dream guest, I would love to talk to David Attenborough.
Dude, you took mine. Yes, man.
Yeah,
legend. He's the OG
like
screen educator, right? But yes,
he does a lot of good documentaries and stuff like that for sure. Yeah, I like that.
No, you didn't take mine. I had the same one as yours. I apologize.
Dave. So his brother was the guy in Jurassic Park, right?
Yeah,
I think so.
He's the one that threw in that frog DNA right at the end there.
Yes, that's 2. But in the third one you already got, so that's the secret you got to keep it. Phil, what about you, dude?
I stopped at David Attenborough. I grew up with him watching like Trials of Life on VHS, and then I'd have to think who the next 2 would be. Then
I would try to get this guy, the guy who wrote the Fig Book.
Oh, get the Fig Book up there.
Yeah, that Fig Book I sent you. The guy who was like a rainforest researcher. I forget the name.
That'd be sick.
Yeah, that would be really cool. I guess for me, I'd like to get like a couple of guys like probably YouTube creators. Like I did the Texas Garden Guy show with Jason from Cog Hill, and that was a cool one.
Nice.
And then I don't know, probably some other content creators. I've got a list, and I've been in contact with some people to get them on. I like us as like the core 3, and then we mix in a couple people here and there. You know, because I like last week we had like 5-6 people on. It was so hard with the streaming, and then afterwards trying to get everything combined together, and then everybody getting enough time to talk. We only go for like an hour, so if you have 6 people,
you did a great job facilitating. Though I would say,
yeah, I agree.
I try my best when there's that many people to like spread it around, but it's hard, and I feel like I don't want to waste anybody's time, you know. So, but yeah, no, I really want to get some. I like us as a core 3, though. I like us as a core 3. But go ahead, Vikram.
I was gonna say I actually have a. So this is someone I couldn't get. because he unfortunately passed away a couple of years ago.
Oh.
But had I been like, and I was podcasting at the time, and I thought about trying to reach out to him, and I just, I didn't know what I was doing yet. There was a guy named Dave Benscoter, and
Dave Benscoter.
David Benscoter, Benscoter, and he passed away in 2020. But he wrote a book called Old Southern Apples, and he's a retired FBI agent that after he retired, he spent his life hunting down lost apple varieties, like hundreds of apple varieties throughout the Eastern Seaboard, throughout the Pacific Northwest, throughout parts of Texas. And I'm working with a colleague on a project to try to bring back an old variety of apple that used to be a major Texas apple, like grown all over the state. I believe it was called Pride of Texas. And we've found some stock of it. We found it, like, I think actually David Benscoter found it. And my colleague from Texas Tech has a hookup to get some. So we're trying to do some grafting work and some sort of renovation work to try to bring this apple back into the Texas market. It was a golden apple, a striped golden apple, beautiful piece of fruit. And as the industry sort of evolved and we sort of pared down to our top, 10 or 15, grocery store apple varieties, we lost there used to be over 100 varieties of apples grown in Texas. And we've lost so many of them. So this guy's book is fascinating. And he would have been such a cool interview, like such a cool person to talk to.
Is that the guy that I see on, like, there's a picture on Facebook or Instagram every so often? It's a guy, he's got a table with like a bunch of different apples on it. And it said, because of this man, it said this man saved like over like 1,000 lost apples. Is that him?
I think so. Yeah,
it's got to be. How many of those guys could there possibly be?
Can't be many.
Yeah. No, there couldn't possibly be that many guys. And he was an older man. So, by the way, we're live streaming on Facebook. If y'all have any gardening questions, feel free to drop them down below. We've got Vikram. He's a plant professor, so he's very knowledgeable about a large variety of things. And he got me and Phil, who just kind of deal with figs, So I'm just kidding.
I heard there's a great statement that I took upon myself a few months ago, and it's that everything is figure-outable. So lean into friends, lean into community. Everything is figure-outable.
I like that.
Phil, we haven't talked about what we talked about on Friday. Remember, we were talking about The Godfather, and I was trying to figure out what the word was for like the number for like your
my wife told me, she's like, it's consigliere, and I was like, oh.
He texted me. He texted me and goes, it's consigliere, and I go, don't you mean configurare?
And then the phone just hung up right there.
Just dropped my phone. Don't you mean configliere? And he was like,
and the next day we had T-shirts.
Yes, you can be my configliere any day. That's a good idea.
I'm gonna have to do that, because just have shirts for like when we present on figs and just be like the configliere and be like, I got you.
Pretty good. That's real good.
I'm gonna need $1 royalty on every shirt, like Mr. Wonderful on Shark Tank.
Deal, because they're gonna be high ticket shirts. Let me tell you.
I'll buy one.
Yes, absolutely. It gotta be like the Godfather fig, and say I'm looking for a configliere, or something like that on the back.
Right.
I love it. So I asked y'all earlier, and I figured we kind of do like a snake draft. I don't know if y'all heard of like a snake draft before, but we would like pick like our top 10 like spring plants and vegetables that we like to grow every year. And so I told y'all to make a top 10 list, and I made a top 10 list, and I figured we'd go down the line and see how much we intertwine. Now I went a little more specific with my selections. I don't know how y'all did, but we can kind of play with it as we go. And this is for stuff that y'all already grow or y'all want to try to grow as well. So, and I guess we'll like if we're going on a scale from like 1 to 10, 1 being like the least important, 10 being the most important. Start out with like your number 1, Phil. Like, what is like something you grow every year, something you want to grow this year? What's your number 1 on it? Like from 1 to 10.
Number 1.
So, well, okay. I guess you're number 10 then. You're number 10. You're number 10. Like your least concerning. Like it's the back of the list. Sorry.
back of the list. I have them out
Oh.
here like Pokemon cards.
Yes,
So it'd be like, because I went to my shed and I got them.
Nice.
But because I had such bug problems with cucumbers, it's still on the list, but it's down at the bottom at 10. I want to try to set up a better like trellis for them and really dedicate some time to them. But because of how humid my climate is, because of the pests I have, and in the dead of summer, I'm planting my seeds now. Cucumbers are on the list, but it's a little frustrating, and that's 10.
Okay, so just general cucumbers.
The market more cucumber.
Yeah, it's like you're pickling your general pickling cucumbers. Yeah. So that's a good one. Last year I had a really bad time with cucumber beetles too, and I had to bust out the 7 dust for like an annihilation. I could not catch a break on them, man. No matter what I did, I could not get rid of the cucumber beetles.
Yeah.
It sucked, but I mean, it's me or the cucumbers, and I want the cucumbers.
Now I have a question. Is that okay, real quick?
Yes. Yeah.
For this draft, because I still have like my baby kale that's out there in the winter right now, and kale plays such a pivotal role in my garden. It'll probably be higher up in the list then, right? In our draft, rather than the stuff that I'm planting now for spring.
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah.
All right, cool.
Yeah, kale is usually fodder at my place. Like I like to eat it, but if something kills it first, I'm okay. You know, it's like no one's gonna cry over eating kale ever. So maybe Raish might. Raish loves her kale.
She does love her kale. Yeah, she talked about that a lot last time.
Yeah. Well, Vikram, what is your number 10, Vikram?
Number 10. So one that is kind of similarly my Achilles heel. I cannot, for whatever reason, grow this plant, whether it's insects or whatever else. I want to grow tomatillos effectively this year.
Yeah.
I don't know what's wrong with me, but I cannot grow tomatillos.
Yeah, I've had a little success with tomatillos. I did the purple ones one year.
Okay.
And I guess they grow like ground cherries. They have like the husk, and they're kind of sticky on the inside. I grew them, and I had a bunch of them, and I didn't know what to do with them. I had no idea what to do with them.
So like a salsa verde with tomatillo is one of my favorite things. I love it.
Yeah. No, and now I like it. Now I like this also. So I wouldn't mind. I think I have some tomatillos. Another one is the Tamarillo. That's like kind of in the same family, but it's that's a weird tasting fruit. I've only tried it once. But if you buy any Mexican candy, it's Tamarillo flavored. Like everything is Tamarillo flavored. That is like the number one flavor.
Oh.
So yeah, that's
cool.
like that earthy kind of berry flavor is Tamarillo.
Okay.
So my number 10, which is something I grow every single year. Can't beat it. It's the patty pan squash. Patty pan squash. For me, I just made an order of seeds. I'm not going to transplant seedlings on those anymore. I'm going to direct seed squash and direct seed cucumbers from now on because I just feel like the transplant shock when I'm transplanting, I usually it's about a 30% loss for me. So, and last year, whenever I went ahead and direct seeded a bunch, it just did so much better. You know,
I had terrible shock with the cucumbers. That was also a frustrating piece.
Is there something to that, Vikram? Like the cucumber, like the tubes?
I think it is those hollow or like fragile stems. We found the same thing because we grew, and this was actually number 9 on my list too. I know I'm jumping ahead, but like we grew a ton of squash. Squash is one up here where I am that's super reliable. Like yellow squash, zucchini, like you'll get more than you could possibly use. But we have never had any luck transplanting it. Like we get 60-70% loss rate transplanting it. When we direct seed, off to the races. It's great.
Yeah. No, I have definitely found that transplant shock is a real deal when it comes to those tubular structures, and they're super fragile. You said that was your number 9? It was just squash in general?
Squash in general, just because, again, it's a high percentage plant for up here.
Yeah. Well, and so I'll do my number 9 and we'll go back that way. So my number 9 is this year I want to grow hibiscus, which I already grow a bunch of hibiscus, but I want to also get into roselle. And then I went to an Herb Society of America meeting last night and talked about figs. And they were making teas out of everything. And I was like, you can make teas out of like all the hibiscus flowers and the roselle. So I want to try to like dehydrate some blooms and make my own tea. So like that's one thing I want to try this year is making hibiscus tea myself. And roselle is very easy to grow from what I hear. If you can grow okra, you can grow roselle. Cool. So Vikram, you said squash. You were saying it does really well up in Lubbock. Do you think that it doesn't have there's not as much humidity, so powdery mildew isn't as bad?
We do see a lot less powdery mildew up here, for sure. Like our hot, dry summers, we get it. I mean, especially if we get some like rain in June, which we typically do. But as soon as kind of the rain lays off, the powdery mildew tends to drop back a little bit. And, we get squash bugs like anyone else does and things like that. But our disease pressure is way lower.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, I would think that arid climate would do better for the squash and cucumbers, everything in general. I think it would be better.
This is going to be really interesting, Vikram, because I live in like a total opposite as far as moisture type climate and soil acidity. Because you have like a very neutral, almost alkaline soil, and I'm over here on like in the 5s. And
oh wow, so you like grow blueberries?
Blueberry is a hot spot here. NC State has in Wilmington area, a huge blueberry testing area.
That's cool.
And then we're very humid all summer long.
Yeah. Phil, what is your number 9?
Is a plant that I don't have seeds for, but I've been thinking about this. Comfrey, is that right?
Oh, cool.
And I want to put it all around the base of a lot of my figs, so I can because it pulls out the nitrogen and then decays on top, and as like a fertilizer for nitrogen.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I heard about a cool aspect where it's designed to help pull nutrients to the surface and kind of fertilize the topsoil there.
Really, I've heard of it as like a cover crop. Like they grow it like a cover crop mostly. And I've also heard of it being grown like for chickens and stuff like that, like putting it around the chicken coops and they can snack on it and stuff like that as well. But, yeah. So what is your 8? We'll come back around to you. What is your 8?
My 8, beets and beet greens.
Beets.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have a certain?
I like the beet greens actually more than the beets themselves, but.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
but
I like the beets.
When do you start those? When do you start those? You direct seed, obviously, right?
I've transplanted those when they're little baby, when they first sprout up, but they're pretty easy. I haven't had issues with those.
Wow. And is that something you would grow like in the early spring, or can you grow them in the late fall too, or how does that work?
Yep, because they ripen quite quickly. And they grow once they hit that threshold of after a certain size, they take off pretty easily.
Oh wow. Okay, I might have to give beets a try. Is there a certain variety that you're wanting to grow?
No, you can get those like candy striped ones, but I have to see. I still have some beets left. I don't know where I put them, but they are just the standard red variety.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I think I tried beets like 2 years ago, and I was like, I guess it depends on how. I think they were cooked like with balsamic vinegar, but
okay.
Typically with veggies, I just like my stuff like raw. Like I don't know about y'all. Like I like my veggies raw better than anything. But
it depends on the veggie for me. But like I mean, garlic and olive oil. If you saute those beet greens, it's like any other greens with that. It turns into an awesome flavor bomb.
Yeah. No. Garlic and maybe some butter and some olive oil. You can't go wrong. That makes everything taste better. Vikram, what's your number 8?
So one that we want to do, it's not a spring harvest crop, but it's something we'll plant this spring. I want to do some pumpkins this year.
Oh, cool.
A variety of, maybe actually some little pie pumpkins and things. We normally do ornamental, the little acorn squash, essentially pumpkins, but I want to do just some big orange, typical Halloween looking pumpkins. We plant them here. If you want to harvest them in September, we usually plant them here right about the 1st of June.
Okay.
They're usually pretty safe. Now, pumpkins are one I actually have had some luck transplanting of all the cucurbits.
Okay.
They seem, at least for us up here, to hold up the best. And we'll start them in the greenhouse end of April. Let them go about 6 weeks and transplant them out early mid-June. And they're fun to grow. And again, if you can keep the powdery mildew off them, they're pretty tough.
Yeah. It's one of those things like watermelons where you need the space.
Yeah.
You definitely need the space to let them grow, because they're gonna. I mean, I've seen people trellis them, hang them up, but that's a chore getting those like hung
It's
up
a lot
and
of work.
stuff. Yeah, no.
Are you gonna go like jack-o'-lantern pumpkin, or are you gonna do like those sugar pumpkins?
I think some of both. I think we'll do some sugar pumpkins just so we can talk about the differences. We use a lot of our stuff at Tech educationally, as much as anything else. But I want to grow some sugar pumpkins at the community garden, and then do a little bit of both on campus.
Okay.
Cool.
No, that's I wanted to do like to make the little like sugar like y'all were talking about the sugar pumpkins only get about as big as a softball. I'd like to try those. I got a question over here in the chat. We'll take a little break from the snake draft. They want to ask. They're asking us how our greenhouse is held up in the freeze. We can all give our accounts. I'll start with Vikram. Got the coldest out of all three of us, so I'll let Vikram go first.
Yeah, so we started freezing Saturday night, and we thawed out Wednesday. Wednesday. Today it was 70 degrees here, which was super weird. It was beautiful.
It's beautiful.
And then tomorrow it's supposed to be 34. So I don't know. It's just ridiculous. But my heaters went down in 2 of my greenhouses. I have 3 heaters in each greenhouse, and they're big, like 14 feet tall, 2,000 square foot each compartments. And there was luckily, at least one of them kept limping along every night. So we didn't freeze, but we got down to about 43, 42 in a couple of my compartments.
Yeah.
And so what's challenging for me is like some of my greenhouses are production. We take cuttings, grow plants out. Some of them are collections and displays, but some of them are research. So like when we get one of those nights when it gets a little cold, that can throw off data for people. And so we try to keep our downtime as minimal as possible, but it's just one of those things. You do your best.
It's like biodome. You want to maintain homeostasis for like the best research results you can possibly.
Yeah.
Is there a biodome somewhere? Is that a thing? Do they
Probably
have those? There's got to be a real biodome out there.
I just remember going back to like grad school and being like, if you need so much data for your thesis and your research that if that gets compromised, you're like,
yeah.
But
yeah.
I'm glad it made it. That's awesome, Vikram.
That's awesome. No, so I probably got the second coldest. Phil, yours is getting cold like right now.
I'm getting the wave now. I'm in the middle of it. If you want to check my Instagram post, and I think it went over to Facebook. I have to double check that, but I just did. I'm going to talk about this in Phil's Fig Fridays tomorrow. The greenhouse I wrapped in an extra greenhouse cover, so I just doubled down on that. So I also did. I retrofitted around. It's like 4x8 panel insulation, and I wrapped that around the interior collar. And so what that did is it blocked any leakages on the bottom, and then I have my little space heater, and that helped trap the heat in from with the space heater heat. And then the blanket on top was just a third tier of like heat capture, and it still lets light in to the greenhouse during the day. And so I checked it out today, and the high was like 39 or 40, and I was getting, or no, it was a little warmer, but I got it up into the 80 in there, so I was okay with the cuttings.
Wow!
But
how hot?
It was 80 in the day, but at night I had a 30-degree differential. So it got down to 26 last night, and I went in and it said 56, and I was like, yes! Because normally it's only 15-degree differential. And so I basically doubled it doing that method.
Yeah. No, that's awesome, dude. Yeah, I was worried because whenever you first told me you put a tarp on it, I thought you didn't even do what you did last time where you put that black tarp over the greenhouse. And I was like, please let him go get it. Was that actual greenhouse tarp? Or was it the stuff like I got?
It was the I got an actual greenhouse polyethylene cover that I got from the Greenhouse Mega Store, I think it's called.
Yeah. So it's 6 mil.
Yeah. And I went and I did like basic geometry and I calculated the area that I needed.
Nerd.
Ordered that, unraveled it, and then, hey, measure twice, cut once, people.
Yeah, I literally, my in walls are made out of the painter's plastic from Lowe's. I think it's only like 4 mil.
Yeah, whatever it takes.
Well, next year I will get the 6 mil. Next year I will order the 6 mil. My plan is every spring, once the freeze is gone, I'll take the tarp back off and I'll pull the end walls down, and then I'll just redo it every year. Because here in my area, I really only need a greenhouse for like 2 months out of the year. I mean,
Same.
every other time, that's really all I need. But so your heater held up.
The heater held up. I didn't need to add any additional heaters. I just had the heat mats, and they just have to operate at full blast. So the heat mats combined with that one, it was the Palma BioGreen space heater, and it did its job.
It's rated for 150 square foot.
200 square foot, which is exactly the Harbor Freight 10 by 10 by 12 greenhouse space. Way smaller than Vikram's stuff, but pretty big for my backyard. And I got, I have like 300, 400 cuttings that I could probably squeeze in there. And then I have my succulents that I'm trying to delve into too. And then my backup plants.
I had pretty good success with the heat lamps.
Nice.
So I had 7 250 watt heat lamps going in the greenhouse, all arranged in a certain area. And then I had my garage is completely insulated. But I did add 2 125 watt heat lamps in the greenhouse or in the garage, along with my LEDs and everything else, which don't really pull anything. Ran all day Monday night, just fine. It got up in the 20s. Like it was like 20 degrees. And then right at 12:30, luckily I was looking out the window because we had like 35, 40 mile an hour winds were freaking me out. And I look and my lights turned off and I was like, oh no. And so I literally like threw some clothes on real quick, ran out to my garage. I was like, I overloaded the breaker. I know what happened. So I turned off the heat lamps in the garage. It was 50 degrees with nothing on in the garage. I don't know why I was worried about heating it. Went out there in my underwear in 20-degree weather, tripped the breaker on the side of the house, or reset it, and it was good. It held up fine. But someone was asking me about the heat lamps, and I actually did the math. I'm not an electrician. I do electrical work, but I'm not an electrician, so it's kind of bad that I didn't do the math and see how many amps I was pulling. But with like that many watts, I could run a 1500 watt heater electric and pull less amps. I'd pull less amps with a 1500 watt heater. So I actually bought one. It's on the way.
Is it the one you sent me?
It does. Yeah, it's that one. Problem is, and I don't know how well these Amazon heaters are rated, because you go look at one and it looks exactly the same as the other one. It says it's rated for 100 watts or 100 square foot. This one says 200 square foot. My greenhouse is 240 square foot. So, and it says it's rated for 150. So I'm not trying to heat it to like 70 degrees. I'm just trying to keep it in the low 40s. We'll see how it goes. I did put a remote thermostat out in the greenhouse, so I'll be able to monitor it a little bit. And it's got an app. It's controlled by an app, so I can turn it on and off while I'm at work or whatever like that. So that's kind of a cool thing.
That's cool.
That's great.
But I mean, for 240 square foot, unless I'm going to run a 220 plug out to my greenhouse, that's about as big as I can go. I mean, it's about as big. So, but everything's. I think it dropped down to like 38, 39. I had plumerias and desert roses and everything out there, and they all made it. So
Awesome.
I'm good with
That's
it.
awesome,
I'm
man.
freaking good with it. So, all right. So yeah. So whoever was asking me about my heat lamps, just get a heater. It'll be fine. You'll feel better about it. It's got a thermostat. You're right. So my number 8 is going to be. We talked about cucumbers earlier. We're going to talk about my Armenian striped cucumbers, which is a misnomer because Armenian striped cucumbers are actually not cucumbers. They're muskmelons. They're not cucumbers at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so they taste very similar. They taste really good as slicers, and they taste really good as pickles. But those are my go-to. They have a thicker rind. They have a thicker rind, and so they can stand up a little bit stronger to the cucumber beetles, is what I'm finding. And they just grow so fast and huge. I mean, we had them. They must have been about. We probably had some that were 18 inches long. You know,
Whoa.
if you pick them smaller, they're more tender. But the Armenian cucumbers, I will do those forever. That goes on my number 8, and then this was actually one that I'll throw in here because this is I started growing them this year, but I'm hoping to actually get a harvest out of them this coming year, is pomegranates. I've got two. I've got two pomegranate trees now. If you have a pomegranate, they're super easy to propagate, from what I've found. So that's a good little fun fact. But I mean, yeah, I've got 2 pomegranate trees, so I'm hoping to actually get some pomegranates this year. They don't start producing until they get to a certain age, and they actually need the cold weather to defoliate them, and then you'll get those buds. I've got the Texas pink, and I've got the Parfianca. So I'm really excited to see how it works, and I want to grow some pomegranates. I love pomegranates.
Do they need more than one to pollinate?
I think certain varieties do. I'd have to do more research, but I've got 2 varieties,
helps,
so
but
we'll see. Yeah,
nice.
I can't fit many more, so it's going to or it's not going to. We'll find out.
Big plant,
dude. Yeah, they'll get big, and the flowers are beautiful. The flowers are beautiful on them.
they really are. I love pomegranates. They're awesome.
Yep, and that's something that people who were pissed off that their citrus kept dying, grow pomegranates. They are actually very cold hardy. Yeah.
They're native to southern Russia, Afghanistan. They grow wild in the mountains of Afghanistan, and so they actually do well even in some of our colder climates. There's some not all of them, but there's some varieties that do very well even up in the Lubbock area. We've got some folks researching them as potential new crops for here.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
And some of those Russian varieties, there's one that I think is just called Russian 18 right now, which I think is a code, or not a trade name.
From Mother Russia.
Yeah, and then there's Salavatsky,
Mhm.
and there's a sweet Russian and a couple others, and so they're some of the more cold tolerant ones.
Yeah, there's a lot of Russian names, and it's like Russia, China, and like northern Arab countries like Afghanistan. Well, definitely they'll do really.
Kazakhstan, I think it's really far up north there too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was in Kyrgyzstan, and they could grow them there, I believe. Kyrgyzstan, which I was so it's a quick little funny story. When I was in the Air Force, I was stationed in Anchorage, Alaska, and it was around Thanksgiving time, and they needed a volunteer to deploy out of cycle. Usually, you go with your group, and you go on the same cycle as everybody else. I went out of cycle, and because I was like, I'm in Anchorage, Alaska. It's cold as hell. I was like, they couldn't possibly send me somewhere that's going to be colder than this. And so I came home for Christmas, and they went back, and a week later, I was shipping out to Manas, Kyrgyzstan. Right? So I'm thinking Kyrgyzstan, it's not going to be that bad. I get on the plane in Anchorage, Alaska, and it's probably -10. I get off the plane 36 hours later in Kyrgyzstan, and it's -25.
No way.
Swear to God, dude. Kyrgyzstan is it's a really cool country. It's like a cross between It was a Soviet state. And it's close to like China, and it's like got Mongolian looking people there too. It's a melting pot of a lot of people. And fun fact, I think they have the largest populations of snow leopards. Yeah, so I think a lot of people go there. And another fun fact, they had a revolution while I was there. They have a revolution every 5 years and overthrow the government. So like I was there during that, and it was wild, dude. It's wild.
Wow.
2010 was wild in Kyrgyzstan, dude. But yeah, so that was a little off topic. Vikram, go ahead.
Pomegranates.
What were we talking about? I don't remember what we were talking about.
Number 7.
I've never deployed anywhere. Are we on 7? Is it 7?
Yes.
So you mentioned hibiscus earlier. I want to try more varieties of Turk's cap. So we have a lot of just the regular red Turk's cap everywhere. It's such a reliable plant.
Yep.
And it's edible, and the fruits are actually pretty tasty. You can eat them fresh. You can. A lot of people will spit the seeds out, but the seeds are edible. You can make teas out of them or jams out of them. You can do a lot with it. But there is and I can't remember now, it's not in my brain today, but there's a couple of pink varieties and a really cool white variety that's like a bright, snowy white.
Yep.
That I really want to try.
It's funny that you said Turk's cap because Jorge is in the chat right now on Facebook. And I was at Jorge's, right? And he has this little fence area where his neighbor has goats and stuff. And he tries to like hide it from like the rest of the nursery. And he planted a bunch of Turk's cap, a bunch of cuttings. And I didn't know what varieties he had planted. And I was there about a month ago. And he had the pink, he had the red, and he also had like the jumbo red. There's like the regular smaller, Turk's cap flower, the pink and the red that I've seen. And he had like the big one. Like these flowers were like this, like they're probably 3 inches long, 3 or 4 inches long.
Wow.
They were jumbo. And I had never seen those before. So I'm going to get some cuttings of those. And maybe when I make a trip to see you at Smith's, I can bring you some cuttings.
That'd be awesome. Yeah.
I have not seen the white though.
They're really pretty. It's again, I'll have to look up the variety name later. But it is such a pretty white. So I've seen some that are a little more, not like cream colored, but a little more muted white. But there's one out there somewhere. I think I saw it in someone's yard actually. That's like a bright white, and it was such a pretty plant.
Jorge's got cuttings. He said they'll be ready in a couple of weeks.
Awesome.
I'll make sure you get some. If we got to ship them up there, we'll ship them up to you.
Cool
Absolutely.
deal.
Mr. Phil, what you got, dude? What's number 7 for you?
Number 7. I'm excited for the top 3 and 5, but number 7, I have more greens because we can grow greens till about May and beginning of June here, but spinach is on the list for me.
Spinach or Malabar spinach? What kind? Just regular spinach?
Dude, it's called Oceanside.
Oceanside spinach.
Oceanside spinach. I have it again. This one's from Botanical Interests.
Is this one that you've grown before?
I grew it once before, but I had back when I had a smaller bed. I only had one bed at the time, so I got to enjoy it, but it really wasn't impactful. But now that I've expanded my garden a lot, I just want to have a nice like salad thing going. Because I do have lettuces and stuff that would make the list, but spinach is definitely there because my family eats a lot of spinach. Here's a parent hack. I mince up the spinach into the pesto, and my kids have no idea they're crushing spinach. And I do that on a weekly basis.
Can't you make pesto out of anything though? Like anything green can be pesto. Like you can take like broccoli,
you can't say that to Italian, dude, but because basil's on my list.
Right, but like the only thing, like from what I heard, like the only thing with basil, the only thing you need with like pesto is like basil, garlic, and like olive oil. But everything else, as long as it's green, it can go in the pesto. Is that not true?
You can totally throw it in. Yeah. Unless you speak to like a true Ligurian pesto, like basil pesto, where it's like Genoa, Italy. And this was what I'm going to get into because my big gardening goal this year is I want to make like a fat basil patch. And I got the Genovese basil, and they care a lot about it's the baby leaves that they really want for the pesto.
Super tender. Yeah.
And so that's the big goal this year because right now I'm still doing store-bought. Another hack, Costco has some of the best pesto I've ever had coming from an Italian.
Ooh, really?
Really?
Yeah, the big jar, the Kirkland jar, because it's simple. Sometimes a lot of the grocery store stuff, they add too much other stuff. It's kind of fermented and sour. If you just get basic like Costco pesto, it has that nice fresh taste and it's fantastic.
Is basil your number 6?
Let's put it at number 6. Let's do it.
Basil's number 6. Okay. Because I'm gonna make a list with our faces and what all of our picks are, and I'll post it on Instagram.
Oh, cool.
Yeah,
Sick.
with all the pictures and stuff. I'm gonna do that. Vikram, what is your number 6, dude?
Blackberries.
Okay.
I've got some blackberries already, but so in my peach orchard, we have had to cut down a lot of trees. They just kind of reach the end of their useful life. They're, in production, a peach will last 12, 13 years is usually kind of in an orchard setting. A high density orchard setting is about where you're looking. And so we're replacing trees right now, and we're trying to figure out what else we want to put out there. And I've got hundreds of feet of fence line, 4-foot tall hog panel fence line. And it would be perfect to put some like Natchez or Kiowa blackberries on all the way around. They do so well.
And that would be with the thorns, right?
So
Natchez has thorns, I think.
So not Natchez then. There's a thornless.
Kiowa,
I think is thornless.
Arapaho has thorns for sure, I think.
I'm trying to remember which one the other one I wanted. I have grown. So in some research I've done in the past, we've done Kiowa and Natchez, and they're great. Like they're great varieties. I would, since we're mostly a pick your own operation, stick with thornless primarily. But I want to do some more blackberries. I love blackberries.
Yeah.
They're
They're
great.
super easy to do. I mean, it's kind of one of those things you set it and forget it, especially if it's like a native variety. Just keep the birds away from it. Just pick them for the birds, get them.
Yeah, and so we have to do a lot of bird deterrence anyway, because we've got some big fat stupid dove out there that love to chew on peaches just before they're ripe enough for us to eat them. And the worst ones, and this is an aside. Honestly, I think the worst peach pest we have is red-winged blackbirds.
Really?
They're cool. They're
really
cool
pretty.
little birds. They're really pretty. I love them. But as a peach grower, they are not my friends.
Yeah.
And they're smart. So yeah, they're a problem.
I've been seeing far too many of those videos of like crows putting like cups inside of cups and stuff. Have you seen a video of like where they're rewarding like crows and blackbirds for putting trash in trash cans?
Mm-hmm.
That's wild, dude. That's so crazy.
They think that a crow is probably about as smart as a 3-year-old.
There's some dumb 3-year-olds out there, man. I mean,
but isn't that amazing? Just like,
but for a
based
bird,
on the volume of their cranium, like that they can be that intelligent. So it's incredible.
Brain the size of a walnut, and
right. Don't get me started on octopus.
Oh, we're lucky octopi don't live. Yeah, we're lucky they don't
changed
live
it to octopuses.
Octopus.
They did change
Shut
it.
up! What?
If you're speaking English, yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Oh wow. No, because I was looking for the plural version of codex the other day, and it was an either or. It was codex or codices or codexes. So it say either one is applicable. I thought it was going to be codi for some reason. That's just dumb. That's just me being dumb. All right, so I'm going to give you all my number 6. Oh, believe me, I'm way too nice to myself. So this goes back to kind of the Turk's cap you were talking about. I put native pollinators. I actually ordered a bunch of native pollinator seeds today. And I want to get a bunch of like salvias and some different kinds of coneflowers. I want to try to grow. I'm probably going to dedicate one bed or certain, like I might just do a dozen 3-gallon pots with just native pollinators and spread them around the garden. Milkweed and everything like that. I've gotten so much flack over the years from native plant people. They hate me. And so I think I should be an example and probably take more initiative to do more native plants. So I will be getting Turk's cap as well. And I even ordered some thistle seeds. I'm going to try to get...
Okay.
I'm going to try... I saw a flower that was beautiful last year. I took a really close-up picture. And I was like, what is this? It's a thistle. And I was like, that's kind of cool if you can contain them from taking over your entire bed.
They'll do that.
Yes. And then 5 loquat. And I got this because I looked at Phil's.
Ooh, I like loquats.
I got this from Phil's picture earlier. I have lost at least 3 loquat trees in my house. But now I've actually got a rolling bed where I killed a tree, not involving the freeze. I killed a tree and it didn't make it. And so I've got a spot. I think a loquat's going to go in there.
Yeah.
So,
I think they've been
loquats.
surprisingly hardy here, even with deep freezes, despite them
Not for
being
me,
evergreen trees.
Yours is in the ground though. And
Yeah.
the ground is going to be a lot different than like in my container. I have lost a lot of things in containers that if they were in the ground, they might have come back. So you're right. At your house, they may be okay, but you're also not supposed to get as cold as me. Like
No.
That's so bizarre. So bizarre.
It's kind of fluctuating between 16 and 19 degrees right now where I am.
Okay, so it's about
so
we
it's
got to
about
18.
there. I think what's beneficial for anyone who's listening who's from way up north is that these are nighttime temps and we'll bounce back.
Nobody's
in the
listening,
daytime.
Just
Screaming into the void about.
Guess what?
cold
I'm going to bounce back every day from these freezes. But yeah,
Feels like number 1 figs, number 2 figs, number 3 figs.
I've made
figs all
sure
the
not
time.
to do that because I've like ran out of space. But you're starting to hit my heavy hitters, which I'm like, oh, that's Italian. Oh, that's Italian. Shoot, that's.
Oh my goodness. Vikram, give me your number 5.
So 5 on my list actually is figs, ironically, just in general. And I've got some great cuttings from Phil. I need to post. I made a video about that, and I need to post it. I keep forgetting.
Sick.
It's been,
No worries.
But yeah, we've done some figs here, and I can't wait to try these new varieties I got from you and just see how they do, because they're such a cool crop, such a cool plant. And there's something here up where we are with as cold as we get and as much up and down as we do that like it's the weirdest thing, because figs are tough, right? They'll take a lot of abuse. And for some reason, if you can grow them here, people think you're like plant god. Like, how did you do that? It's amazing.
It's like the easiest thing to grow. It's like
I put it in the ground and I pretended it didn't exist for a while. Like, I don't understand. Like, I don't know.
The thing with the figs is like the hardest care part is the first few years. After that, it's harder to kill them than to keep them alive. After once they get established, they're such resilient plants.
I was telling everybody at the Herb Society last night. I was like, well, because the topic was figs, and I told them, y'all are all going to be thinking that your figs are dead here in about a week or two. I was like, leave them alone. I was like, don't trim them back. Don't do anything. They're going to look like crap for like 2 months. But then you're going to have a bunch of growth coming up out of the ground. And it's going to look like fingers coming from the earth. And you're going to have brand new figs in the spring. I was like, just
come back with vengeance.
They're going to come back even stronger. So, Phil, what is your number 5? Number 5 and then your number 4.
Did I not do? I guess. Oh, I did 6. Was
Yeah, Vikram said
we're going to move into tomatoes because last podcast we talked about like get some standards and then get some experimentals. When I got an experimental today, it's new to me. It's called the Black Krim tomato.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good one.
So that's new for me. But I wanted to get some sort of heirloom variety that I would never pick normally, and it was this one.
That's a good one. It's a big tomato usually. It's a very big, fat tomato. And then your number 4, Phil.
My number 4, I have squash on the list. Black Beauty.
Is it like a zucchini?
Yeah, it's a zucchini summer squash thing. It's a zucchini.
Nice.
Zucchini.
Why do they call it Black Beauty?
I do not know. I just saw award-winning.
I usually do the 8-ball. The 8-ball zucchinis are my favorite.
Ooh, okay.
The 8 balls, or they call them something tomate or something like that. They call them that as well. But they're like little round ones, and they're perfect for like you scoop them out and put hamburger meat and like stuff them with like whatever you want. Like we make taco bowls.
Wow, I like that.
We roast them, hollow them out, and mix it with the hamburger meat and the cheese or whatever toppings you want, and stick it back inside the squash and eat everything. Vikram, you're number 4.
So this is not one specific variety, but I want to try some new peppers. Peppers are like so high percentage up here. They do so good. They love the hot, dry summers, and we get like a lot of heat on our peppers because of how hot and dry it is during the summer. It really
Oh,
builds
nice.
in that capsaicic acid into the peppers. So like jalapenos, great, all day long. I've always struggled with bell peppers though. They get sun scald, they get some other issues, and so I want to dial in bell peppers for West Texas.
Yeah. No, that's actually I'll go ahead and tie mine in. I want to do specifically spicy peppers. I want to master the spicy container pepper because we all know the spicier the pepper, the longer it takes to grow. It just takes so much longer to grow those really hot peppers.
That was my thinking with this podcast. It was like I was worried that I wouldn't be able to get my peppers if I did it now. When would I get them?
So a lot of people plant them like at Christmas time or Thanksgiving time. Like they
Okay.
plant the seeds, keep them inside because they want to get some fruit that year. I mean, I guess you would call a pepper a fruit, right? Is it a fruit?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It's a berry, actually.
Oh, really? Okay. I never thought
We
about
can
it
put
like
a
that.
pin in that, yeah.
Save that for the next episode.
Yeah.
Next
But yeah,
episode.
I want to do some spicy peppers this year, but I want to master them in containers so I can bring them in the greenhouse over winter. And then I said papaya because I killed my papaya this year. That's the container plant that I killed. I'm going to put a loquat in, but I literally pulled the papaya out of the pot because I figured it was going to die from the freeze. Transplanted it, killed it, and lost them. The papayas were already this big, and I freaking should have left it alone. But if I didn't try, they were going to die from the freeze. So I will try papaya again. Papaya, you shall be mine. I've never even had a papaya before, but I will try again. Mr. Vikram, back to you, sir. You're number 3.
Number 3. So people may be surprised by this one. I want to try some new prickly pears. So we have at the community garden and at the greenhouse, we've got some different prickly pear. I've got one that's almost a spineless, which is maybe a misnomer. There's still glaucids on it, but they're way less. It's way easier to clean up the fruit and stuff, but they produce so much fruit.
Wow.
And they have kind of this like peach colored flower that's gorgeous. The fruits are more orange than red. And I want to try 2 or 3 different varieties because I've never had a ton of experience with different prickly pears, but I've been told there's actually like pretty vast flavor profile differences between some of the fruits. I love prickly pear fruit. It's like one of my favorite.
Oh man, and like prickly pear lemonade. Have you had that before? It's
yes.
Like,
I've done syrups. I actually did a prickly pear sorbet a couple of years ago, which
that sounds great.
Real good. You can make margaritas out of it.
Oh wow!
All the things.
That sounds amazing. That sounds really good.
Isn't it a type of ficus?
No,
it's
a
ficus family.
It's a cactus. It's a Opuntia, whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a. I'm sure you know the scientific names. we can save that prickly pears for that. That's a good conversation. We can talk about cactuses for an hour, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Mr. Phil, you're number 3, dude. You're number 3 and you're number 2.
Number 3 and number 2. I'm going to go over to fruit trees. I got a type of hardy citrus called a yuzu, and it's Yuzu.
That's
it's
a cool
very
one.
popular in Asia. A lot of Korean cooking cuisine, Japanese cooking cuisine, and it's exceptionally hardy. Apparently, it's good down to like 5 to 10 degrees. But it's one of the main ingredients of like for flavor in ponzu sauce. But it's a great flavoring agent for a lot of dishes, and it'll look like a lemon but rounder. Not quite as fragrant from what I've smelled of fruits, but it'll survive in ground here in Wilmington, so I got one.
That's awesome, dude.
Yeah.
So yuzu citrus. I'll have to Google that. That sounds awesome. And then you're number 2.
I'm dedicating the basil, and this is like I really want to say figs for the past 3. But we're moving on from that. But I got some San Marzano tomatoes that I'm going to make a whole patch of this year, and I want to try to make some my own sauce and gravy.
And are most San Marzanos going to be determinate varieties?
I believe so.
Yeah.
So it's in that Roma tomato family.
I think I'm going
I
to really
love the
focus
story
on the
behind
tournament.
it. Do you
Tell me.
know about so why people love San Marzano is that when they first brought tomatoes over to Europe, they were having a difficult time growing them and they couldn't find locations to grow tomatoes because it's a new world fruit. And San Marzano is right there at the base of Mount Vesuvius. So they liked that volcanic soil.
Yeah.
That's so
And so
cool.
that was one of the first places that they were able to grow it was in San Marzano. And it proliferated outwards from there.
That's awesome.
Cool.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Man. No, I have always had pretty good success with like sauce tomatoes. Like they do really well.
Oh, cool. I'm really excited. They seem really abundant. They have low seed quantities in them, so they're good for sauces.
Absolutely. Yeah. Look up a pink fang too. It's like kind of a dwarf pink San Marzano. It's like a smaller pink Marzano. It's really cool looking.
Oh, that's really cool. And that was like one or two podcasts ago. She was talking about their striped aromas as well that are in that same family.
Oh yeah, go check out David's Garden Seeds or Baker Creek and look up just like your what do you call it, San Marzano, like your Roma tomatoes. Check them out. There's a bunch of different varieties. They're all gonna be red in the end, though. You know, most of them. Mr. Vikram, what is your number 2?
So I would like to figure out how to successfully grow a persimmon in Lubbock, America. Persimmons are they're great Texas plants. We have a native Texas persimmon. Does real well. I just have there's a few plants on my list that I just struggle with.
Yeah.
And that's one of them.
Really?
And like, I'm not the hugest fan of like persimmon fruit, but there are some out there I've had that I really like. I think that there's such a range in flavors there. And you know, there's the astringent ones and the sweet ones and whatever. But I want to grow some persimmons.
Yeah. I've never had one I liked. I think I probably only had the astringent variety. So I know that typically at my grandpa's house, the possums would always get to him before we did. That's what he would always say. Gotta get out there and beat the possums to him.
They're beautiful when they're fruiting and like they defoliate, but the fruits are still hanging on the astringent ones, and it just they look like stunning fruit, and they taste pretty good.
It's a gorgeous tree.
Yeah.
Yeah, my grandpa had one, and he actually had a new septic system put in. And when they dug the hole, they dug it too close to the persimmon tree, and they killed it. So like they went down like 15 feet. So they killed the tree, and they had to take it down. It must have been every bit of like 40 feet tall. Though she was tall.
Wow!
Oh no!
Huge. She was freaking huge, man. But like I said, it was mostly possum bait. So
I got my first persimmon this year, actually. The Giambo was the one I got. The persimmon tree.
Your own tree? Okay, cool.
Awesome. It didn't fruit for me. I just have a new one, but I'll let you know how it goes.
Yeah, for sure. I'd like to find them and try one that, like, try it over again. I'm trying to try new things over again because I'm such a picky eater. It sucks. So my number 2 is tropicals. So I got into plumerias last year and adeniums as well. But I started a bunch of stuff from seed in the fall. So I got a ton of stuff that's going to be growing and possibly putting on new growth and blooms this year. And the cool thing about starting plumerias and adeniums from seed is you have no idea what color they're going to be. If you do if you do like a plumeria from a cutting, it's going to be pretty much exactly what you took a cutting from. Same thing with the desert rose. You do it from seeds, you have no idea what color they're going to be, and it could take up to like 3 years for them to start blooming. So, but hopefully I see something this year with enough fertilizer. So we'll say tropicals. And then my number 1, because my wife will kill me if I don't, is I'm like you, Phil. I like to plant the tomatoes that look really cool. And sometimes I let it slip by the wayside, the ones that my wife actually wants me to grow. And the variety she enjoys is called the Early Girl. The Early Girl variety is her number 1. So I literally just ordered seeds today. It should be here this week. The Early
What type
Girl
of tomato is that?
It's a slicer, just your standard slicer, and it's her favorite variety. Her grandma used to always grow them, so that's her. She won't even eat a store-bought tomato. She won't eat a store-bought tomato. She will only eat homegrown. And so the last couple of years, I kind of let it fall to the wayside by growing a bunch of weird varieties. This year, I will be growing the Early Girls. Happy
Early
wife,
Girl's
happy
a great
life.
variety.
Yes.
That's good to know.
It's a great short season tomato.
Yeah, yeah. I've seen them where they're determinate and indeterminate, but they're a determinate variety. You're saying?
Yeah. Well, they're quick, right? So I think I don't remember what it is, 45 days to harvest or something,
Something like that.
They're a pretty short season tomato. So I think they had. I'm trying to remember now if they're determinate or indeterminate. But when I say short, so when I think of like growing tomatoes here in West Texas, they do better for us as a fall crop if we plant them like in August,
Right.
because by the time we hit summer here, it's so hot and dry that they shut down.
Yeah.
So we either have to go with a like short season, quick to fruit tomato like an early girl in the spring, or just commit ourselves to limping them through the summer,
Yeah. Hey, red snapper is another one, right? Red snapper is like an early variety. I think
that's a good one.
That's an early one as well. I've never grown it, but Froberg swears by it. So, and what is your number one, Mr. Vikram?
So sunflowers, actually.
Sunflowers.
I love sunflowers. And a couple of years ago, we did a trial, or not a trial is not the right word. We did a display where we planted like 15 varieties of sunflowers. And it was so much fun. It was such a fun thing to do because we had some of the short, like dwarf sunflowers that are 2 feet tall. We had some that were like a deep wine red that had multiple colors. We had some of the big, like production varieties that you get a ton of seeds off of them, and they're just so much. They're like the happiest plant.
Yeah.
And
little teddy bear ones, they're so cute.
Yeah, they're so cool. There's green ones. There's like almost
chocolate
chocolate ones. Yeah. So I think this year, one thing that we're going to do is order as many different seeds as we can, different varieties, and plant them in like 3-week successions. And kind of shoot for the first of them being ready late June. Some of the
sounds about right.
Quicker flowering ones, but then stagger them so that they bloom until like first freeze. That's kind of our goal.
That sounds like fun.
That sounds like a lot of fun.
And you said earlier about the berries. Y'all have a U-pick set up, or people could come pick their own sunflowers they wanted to as well?
See that would be fun too, and that's something we've thought about doing. Is as we're thinking about, do I really want 500 peach trees?
The answer is yes.
Yeah.
I have some input on that actually. Here we have Trask Family Farms out here in Wilmington, and Castle Hayne has a maze of sunflowers, and it's beautiful
cool too. Yeah, but if you did like a sunflower, you pick and just charge $1 a sunflower, and then people could like take a bouquet and then put that towards like some kind of fund or whatever, to like something somebody can embezzle, whatever.
Sure. Well, we've thought about doing like sunflowers and zinnias and other composites, and do like a kind of a big display of all of the different composite flowers, and because some of them are so cool. Like there's some really cool ones out there.
Well, yeah. And it's so cool for like the pollinators as well. Like I love it when I see people have like dedicated areas on their land just for pollinators. It's so much fun. Mr. Phil, give us your number one.
Cherry tomatoes.
Cherry tomatoes. Do you have a specific variety?
I have the Sweeties.
The Sweetie 100s?
It's just a staple all season long for us in our salads, going out and eating them. My kids will even eat them, so that's a huge win.
They're so good.
Have either of you tried Sunrise Bumblebee?
No.
No, I have not.
Look up, I can't remember now. Oh wait, it's either Sunrise or Sunshine. One of those two. A bumblebee. So it's a yellow striped cherry tomato, and it's one of my favorite cherry tomatoes I've ever grown. They're so good.
I will definitely look that up.
Maybe it's Sunshine Bumblebee. Let me look it up real quick.
Yeah, I'll definitely look it up.
Sunrise Bumblebee.
Oh, Sunrise. Yeah, that's it.
It's beautiful.
Maybe both.
It's almost like a sun gold that's like kind of striped.
Is it Sunrise or Sunshine?
Sunrise.
Sunrise, okay. I'll definitely look that up. For sure.
And they're delicious.
This podcast has me I have 8 tabs open so far.
Oh, I know. Well, the goal is as we're talking, people are watching this, and ooh, I want to try that. The goal of this week's episode was to get people excited. Everybody kind of got their ass kicked this last week from the freeze. Everybody's kind of exhausted and tired, And so maybe they're just looking forward to seeing what the future holds, and if you want to have tomatoes in the spring, if you want to have certain things, now's the time to do it. Get stuff ready for the spring. If you want tomatoes early, start your tomatoes inside right now. Start your peppers inside right now. I don't recommend the cucumbers and squash early, but I mean, you can start these ornamental, like these flowers and stuff by seed inside right now if you want to.
Mm-hmm.
So, well, I will make a sheet on Canva with our faces and our top 10s and put it on Instagram. That's a cool little idea. I think the snake draft would be a cool idea.
Like that.
Do this like maybe once a month. We pick a topic and we do like our top 10. I think that'd be a lot of
Perfect.
fun. Well, Phil, Vikram, I appreciate y'all hanging out with me tonight. Let everybody know where they can find you, Phil.
Hey, you guys can find me on all the social medias at Phil's Figs. I keep it easy. You can find me at philsfigs.com. I still have cuttings available for a few more weeks before I bogart them myself and start making trees, which will be available in April.
Fantastic. Mr. Vikram, go ahead and tell everybody where they can find you, man.
I am the Plant Prof all over the internet. You can also find my podcasts, Planthropology, which is anthropology with a PL on the front. That's all over the place. You can find it anywhere you get your podcast. It is coming back next week, come hell or high water. And it would mean a lot if you'd listen to it. It's something that I've been doing for years, and it's very much a passion project of mine. Make sure you check out In the Grow as well. And I wrote a book, Plants the Rescue. So check that out.
Look at that,
Plants the Rescue.
Oh, we're all prepared.
There you go, man. There you go. Plants the Rescue, my buddy Vikram. I will make sure to put a link. And when this episode goes up on YouTube and Spotify and Apple Podcasts, there will be a link to that. Do you want the link to Amazon or do you want it to the actual site? Does it matter?
It doesn't really matter.
Okay.
No, it doesn't really matter.
Usually I say if it's available on Amazon, it's just easier for people to get it that way. And so that works out.
And a big thing for me is that it's accessible. So however people can get it, I'd love for them to get it.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, and I'm Texas Garden Guy. I got a bunch of events coming up. I'll be at Jorge's Hidden Gardens this Saturday. We're doing a $20 tree pruning class from 10 to noon. We're going to be, Jorge, are going to be hosting it. And we also have our horticulture expert, Mr. Warren Sloan, giving tips and showing you how to prune your fruit trees and ornamentals. You will get a goodie bag with some Jorge's fertilizer and stuff like that. So it's going to be a good time. Plus, you can hang out with me and Jorge for a little bit. So it's going to be a good time. Then I got a bunch of meetups. I'll be posting all about that. If y'all are just hopping in, you can watch this all the way through on Facebook. Tomorrow, this will be on Spotify and YouTube. So make sure to go follow the Garden Party over there. Follow the Plant Professor. Follow Phil's Figs. And we will see y'all next week. Thank you so much.